What's up, everybody? It's your boy Wes, back with another video. And tonight on DAZN, we have a blockbuster women's card featuring Amanda Serrano versus Erica Cruz. And also, we have Alicia Baumgardner fighting tonight. Both matches, the main event and the co-main, will be for the undisputed championships at 126 and 130. Headlined by, like I just said previously, Amanda Serrano and Erica Cruz. It's a majority women's card tonight. I think there's one male card. I'm not too familiar with everybody on the undercard. I just recently looked at a couple of highlights on one of the highly touted prospects, Sky Nicholson. Watched like one of her fights. Gotta say, I'm a fan of her style. She got a pretty solid techniques. Real slow paced fighter, but at the same time, from what I saw in her last fight, she's the type that she kind of gives what she gets. She's real comfortable, schooling you technically from the outside. But, if you land some hits, she's not afraid to get back in there with you and land some dog hits. So she's going against another undefeated fighter who I'm not too familiar with as well. And, so that should be a good, test for her. I'm hoping to see some good women's boxing tonight. The main event should be stellar. Erica Cruz, the WBA champ at 126, should give Amanda Serrano a nice, decent little fight. I still see Amanda Serrano winning. I don't know if she's going to win by knockout because Erica Cruz is a tough opponent. Won't be a walk in the park. Live dog for sure, but at the same time, heavily favor Amanda Serrano. Alicia Baumgardner's opponent, I'm going to be honest, haven't really seen too much of her fights. The only really fight that I know she's had is against Delphine Persoon. That's her only step-up fight from what I've seen. And she was unsuccessful. That was her last outing. Hee-Man Choi should be the one fighting Baumgardner, but it seems as though, she's been staying overseas in Japan, not trying to come to the States to fight for Undisputed. Michaela Meyer's been trying to get fights with her. Baumgardner's been trying to get fights with her. And it seems that the WBA finally had enough and put her as the champion in recess. So tonight, the fight at 130 will be for all the belts, and Alicia Baumgardner has a really, really high chance to become an undisputed tonight. Same with the winner of Amanda Serrano, Erica Cruz. And it's just crazy to me. Aside from the card, which I think should be exciting, that's not really what I wanted to talk about. I mainly just wanted to talk about how stellar women's boxing has been in the past 2 years. Because, the thing with men's boxing, not to say that we don't get great fights, great performances, because we do. We've had some tremendous fights the past couple of years. Just some off the top of my head, the Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury trilogy, Errol Spence versus Sean Porter. We've had friggin', damn, my head just went blank. I was just talking all that stuff. But, we've been having some good fights recently. Dimitri Bivol, Canelo Alvarez. It's not like we're not getting nothing. We got Caleb Plant, David Benavidez coming up, which I will be talking about in a separate video. That's going to be a good one. And, Devin Haney just became undisputed. We saw, Teofimo Lopez versus Lomachenko. So we've been having some pretty solid fights happening between, big stars. But it just seems when it comes to women's boxing, we get the fights when we ask for them without having to wait too long. I mean, just in the past 2 to 3 years, we just had an all-women's fight card, which was amazing, which had Savannah Marshall go toe-to-toe against Clarissa Shields for Undisputed, a unification bout between Alicia Baumgardner and Michaela Meyer. We saw Amanda Serrano go toe-to-toe with Katie Taylor at the Garden, which was one of the greatest fights of all time. And, we seen Sinisa Estrada versus Maria Bermudez. I mean, it's like women's boxing has just been giving us the fights we want to see consistently, and we haven't had to wait that long. Amanda Serrano has been talking about becoming undisputed for the past few years. And it's funny to me that, mainly the thing is the only way fights can be ordered is if it's like a mandatory fight between a contender and a champion. But this fight is for undisputed, and the WBA ordered the champion Erica Cruz to fight Amanda Serrano in an undisputed fight. Now, to my knowledge, check me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the only time you are ranked is if you don't have any titles. I believe once you become a champion, whether it's the WBC, WBA, IBF, or WBO, for those who don't know, those are the 4 major sanctioning bodies in boxing. And if you hold any of those belts, you are considered a world champion. If you hold all 4 of those belts, you are considered undisputed champion. All of the other belts that you may see on people are just supplementary. Now, with that being said, to me it's crazy how the WBA can order a fight like that. But when it comes to a fight like, such as, let's say, Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, they can't order it. Is it they can't order it or they won't order it? Because now I'm confused. Because this wasn't a fight that was just agreed upon between 2 fighters. Erica Cruz versus Amanda Serrano was ordered. And then we got other fights like Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev that a lot of the fans want to see. And the time is ticking on both those 2 men's fights I just mentioned. Because Artur Beterbiev is about 35. Terrence Crawford, I think, is about 35 as well. Maybe 34. Some of these dudes are getting up there in age. You know, we got other fighters in their prime like Gervonta Tank Davis, Devin the Dream Haney, both 2 undefeated fighters in their 20. People think those 2 are the top of the division, and I agree. There's no reason they shouldn't be fighting. There's just so many fights in the men's, that we want to see that it feels like we have to beg for. It's like pulling teeth, Canelo Alvarez versus David Benavidez. We may get that, depending if David Benavidez wins. Or we may get the Caleb Plant rematch if Plant wins. But, I mean, you can kind of see the point I'm making. We got all these men's fights, that we want to see. But when you look at the women's fights, it's like, bro, they're already talking about a Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano rematch. Rematch, which Amanda Serrano could possibly win. We could possibly get a trilogy of that fight. You know what I'm saying? Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields, there was talks about them rematching. We've already seen Clarissa Shields and Franchon Cruz fight each other on their debut. Now they're both undisputed champions at the same time. That's another fight we may get in the future. We've seen the heavyweight champ Hannah Gabriels go against Clarissa Shields. Shields and Christina Hammer faced off when they were both undefeated. I just mentioned earlier Baumgartner versus Meyer when they were undefeated. Maria Bermudez, she moved up in weight. Estrada seems to be tracing her. We may get a rematch in that. And all of these fights have been stellar and delivered. We've seen Cecilia Brækhus go against Jessica McCaskill. And then right after that, we saw McCaskill go against Chantel Cameron, another fighter that became undisputed at 140 in that fight. There was talk about Chantel Cameron, Katie Taylor, Chantel Cameron, Alicia Baumgartner. I mean, there's just so much progress in women's boxing at a fast rate where it's like, we're talking about fights and then we're getting them immediately. We're not, like, if this is Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, we'd still be talking about who's ducking who in that fight. That's the debate going on with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Who's ducking who? We're having more discussions about who's ducking than who's actually fighting. But when it comes to the woman, as soon as the heat started up between Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields, as soon as Clarissa was done with her MMA ventures, the fight got made. No problem. Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor took a little while, mainly due to COVID. Soon as COVID was over and we started getting people back into the arenas, it's not over, but you know what I mean. As soon as people start getting back to the arenas, things got a little bit more normal. Boom. Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor at the Garden. Amanda Serrano wins. They're already talking about a rematch in Ireland, Katie Taylor's home country. Baumgartner wins. They're talking about Baumgartner versus Katie Taylor. Or Baumgartner-Meyer rematch. Or Baumgartner-Chantel Cameron. I mean, it's just crazy to me how when it comes to the, lesser... And it's not even like these fights aren't getting the buzz, because they are. Like, Serrano versus Taylor was sold out. The all-women's card on Sky Sports was one of the highest sporting events ever. One of the highest ESPN sporting events viewed ever, with Clarissa Shields Marshall, co-headlined by Baumgartner-Meyer. Basically, I guess what I'm saying is, when it comes to giving people what they want to see and getting the legacy fights, getting the savage fights that we're looking for, the women are doing better than the men. And that's just truth. Like, you know, people have been asking for Better B versus Bivol for like 4 years now. People have been asking for Spence Crawford for years. We're just now getting Spence and Thurman maybe. I don't even want to say we're getting it because I don't like saying, you know, fights until they get signed. That's why you haven't seen me make one Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence video, because as far as I'm concerned, until it's official, I don't even want to talk about it. Why get the hopes up? You know what I'm saying? Why get the hopes up? Jamal, Charlo, Demetrius, Andrade, they've been in the same division for like 5 years. They haven't fought each other. That's another fight fans have been clamoring for. Canelo Alvarez versus both of those guys. Some more fights we haven't gotten. Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. Another fight we haven't seen. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. Still hasn't been agreed upon yet. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Contract still not signed. They've been talking about it for like 5 months now. Still not official. Still no word. But guess what? We're getting 2 women's undisputed fights tonight. We've had multiple undefeated fighters going toe-to-toe. Some of these women that are great fighting each other on their debut. Women undisputed title fights getting made like that. No problem. And the fights have been amazing. It isn't like we're watching some poor competition. It's just like UFC. The women's fights exciting just like the men's fights. Heck, Clarissa Shields has been putting in so much work. We're running out of people to even say who we want to face because she's faced everybody we asked her to fight. She's in the same boat as Amanda Nunes in the UFC. It's to the point where people want to see them cross over and fight in boxing and MMA. And you can't even be mad because both of those women have proven how great they are in their profession. So, I mean, when it comes to the boxing, we just got to give it up to the women because they're giving us what we want to see. And I'm pretty sure, you know, I'm confident that after this we get the Amanda Serrano-Katie Taylor fight. And I'm pretty sure Baumgartner will either rematch Meyer or make another big fight. And then the winner of that will go on to either, if Meyer wins, do a trilogy, or Baumgartner wins, we'll get her versus Katie or Serrano or both. I'm pretty sure, I'm confident to say we can get all those fights. But I'm not confident to say that we can get every fight between the men fights that I'm just mentioning. I'm not even confident that if David Benavidez beats Caleb Plant, we get the Canelo fight. You know, I'm not even... Bivol's talking about rematching Canelo at 168. For what? You already beat him. You can become undisputed at 175. Your weight class. You already beat the undisputed champ at 168. Why drain yourself when you can fight at your best against a tougher opponent? Like, you know, Spence and Crawford, that's a storyline within itself. Why haven't we seen that yet? We should be on the 3rd Spence and Crawford fight by now. Heck, maybe the 4th one. Tank Davis and Devin Haney. I mean, why are we entertaining Haney versus Loma and Tank versus Ryan? Those are good fights, for sure. But let's be real. The 2 best right now are Tank and Devin. Both undefeated, both in their prime, both in their 20s. They should be the ones fighting for the belt. Tank's the WBA, you know, regular champ. He should be the #1 contender easy. WBA should be ordering that. Soon as Devin won all the belts. I mean, it's just wild to me that, I mean, I know it's mainly politics. It's not so much the fighters all the way. But, you know, you got to put a little blame on the fighters. But at the same time, it's mainly the sanctioning bodies that the blame is on. Because like I just mentioned with Amanda Serrano and Erica Cruz, WBA can make these fights, or whatever sanctioning bodies can order these undisputed title fights to happen. They could change their system to where champions can challenge champions in the rankings. Easy. No one's stopping them. No one would complain about it. But it's all about the money, the politics, who's got the pull, who's making the calls to say don't or make this fight a mandatory, whatever. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to give a shout out to women's boxing because I've been thoroughly entertained, especially these past 3 years, by a lot of these fights. A lot of these women been throwing down and getting after each other on some savage mode. And like I said, don't get me wrong, the men are doing great, but on a consistent basis, the women are killing it. Let me know what you guys think about the card tonight. Let me know what you guys think about the points I made about boxing as a whole, women's boxing, men's boxing. What fights do you want to see in the women's division up next after, the landscape gets changed tonight on this card? And if you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss no more. First Degree Sports, and I'm out. Peace.